Now we've given you a range of different compost filled containers and a range of seeds, and you might be wondering what goes in what, and don't I just simply stick the seeds in the ground? And so this video will hopefully explain a bit about what different plants need when they're growing from seed, and the pros and cons of sowing direct versus sowing in modules or pots for each plant, and yeah, how you go about sowing your seeds. So for a lot of plants, sowing direct is fine, and you can just rake once you've raked your soil over, and you've got a reasonably weed-free, nice crumbly surface, you can just make a little furrow with a hoe or a trowel, and scatter your seeds along the row. So this is a seed drill. So you space your seeds at the appropriate spacing. That depends what you're sowing, and then just cover them back in. So in this case, radishes, you're sowing them about a centimetre deep, and you just want to mark the end of the row so you don't forget what you've sowed and where. And if you've got the Windowsill Plus pack, you've got these polypots that you effectively you can sow direct into these. So for instance, here I've got the rainbow chard, and I can just sprinkle these on the surface, and just press them in and cover them up with a bit of compost, and then once I've watered those, I could just leave them to get on with it. So they have direct sowing, and this is great for your cut and come again salad plants. So all these salad leaves, which you just sow in a big pot and grow them as baby leaves. So in 6 weeks or so, when they get up to like maybe 5 or 6 inches, you just take a pair of scissors and snip them off, and let them regrow a couple of times. There's your salad leaves. Now, the alternative to direct sowing is you start off your plants in a small pot or a module tray, and grow them to a certain size, and then plant them out in your garden or a larger container. And there's some big advantages in doing this. You can keep your plants out of the way of pests, like slugs, various insect pests, mice, for instance, which will go for peas and beans. You can also keep them warm when they're starting out, which is a particular issue with things like French beans and courgettes, which need at least 20 degrees centigrade. That's the soil temperature to germinate. So you can do this for most plants, the exception being some things like carrots, which really hate having their roots disturbed. So it's got a lot to recommend it if you're looking to raise healthy full-size plants for putting out in your garden, and you don't mind the extra work of transplanting. So if you're sowing in modules, you can just put a single seed in each compartment. So there's your rainbow chard, which is also ideal grown in this way if you're looking to grow some full-size plants. And these module trays come in a range of different sizes. We've given you two sort of middling sized types, and which one you use really depends on the sort of seed and the size of the seedling. So for instance, lettuces, you're great with quite a small module, but for something like French beans, which is a bigger seed and a bigger seedling, you certainly want something at least as big as the larger modules, and you might even want to start it off in a 3-inch pot. And 3-inch pots are also ideal for starting off your courgette seed, because again that's a big seedling, and it will very quickly outgrow a small module. So we'll go on to look at the different seeds and their needs, and so the rest of this video will be essentially a sort of will be a slideshow really of like what the seeds look like, what they particularly need when they're growing, and when you could expect to see something happening, and what the seedling looks like, what it turns into. Let's look first at the seeds in the basic starter pack. Now here's lettuce, very small light seeds, flat with curved sides and pointed ends, and various colours from off-white to dark brown. So you can sow these 1 to 2 centimetres apart in a pot or a grow bag for cut and come again baby salad leaves, or you can raise plants in small modules for planting out in the garden. Direct sowing in the garden is a bit risky. If slugs are around, they will tend to destroy your seedlings. These lettuce seeds germinate in response to light, so cover them very, very thinly, only 1 to 2 millimetres. So here are the seeds for rocket, tiny yellow-brown round seeds, and spinach. These are roundish silvery seeds, a bit bigger, about 3 millimetres. And the Asian salad mix. These are mostly small, round, dark brown seeds, about 1 millimetre wide. These are oriental leaves like mustard and mizuna, and there are also some little corky, knobbly ones, which is a leaf beet. Now, if you're sowing these in spring, all of these are best sown as a cut and come again baby leaf salad crop in a pot or grow bag, and this is because they tend to go to seed very quickly. In late summer, you can grow larger plants that produce lots of big leaves for cooking. As with lettuce, you can sow these about 1 to 2 centimetres apart and cover them a bit deeper, but certainly no more than 5 millimetres. So these are spring onion seeds, tiny little black, slightly spiky things. These you can either sow direct into the ground or in a pot or a grow bag, about 1 to 2 centimetres apart and 5 millimetres deep. And they come up as a folded over little green shoot that opens up with the seed on the end. The germination and growth on these is a bit slower than the salad leaves. And here are the peas, obviously. You can sow these 1 to 2 centimetres deep, and you can grow them either for pea shoots, which make a nice addition to a salad or a stir fry, in which case you want to sow them about 3 centimetres apart in a pot or grow bag, or you can sow them in small or medium modules, or several in a pot, and plant them out. And they don't mind being transplanted when they're fairly small. Or you can just sow them direct in the garden, about 8 centimetres apart. In the garden, mice can be a problem. They eat the seeds, and birds can eat the growing plants. So those are both good reasons for sowing in modules and transplanting. Now these little corky clusters are your rainbow chard seeds, which you can either sow in pots and grow bags for baby salad leaves, in which case you want to put them about 5 millimetres deep and spaced 3 to 4 centimetres apart. Or you can sow them singly in modules to raise plants that will grow all the way through to next spring and produce lots of leaves that you can cook like spinach. If you're sowing them direct in the garden, you can sow them sow 1 or 2 seeds every 10 centimetres. They may need protection from birds, i.e. put some netting of some sort over them. These are parsley seeds, small, pointy, curly, brown ones. You can sow these individually in modules or space them about 2 centimetres apart in pots or grow bags, about 3 millimetres deep. They are quite slow to germinate, and you'll be waiting at least 2 weeks, so have patience. Once they grow rather slowly to start with, but once they're established, they're a very easy plant to grow. And here are chive seeds, which you can treat exactly the same as spring onions. The difference being this is a perennial plant, so you can keep it in a pot or the corner of the garden and it'll come back year after year. You just snip off the leaves about an inch above the ground and they grow back. These are radishes, little squarish, sort of smooth, light brown seeds about 2 millimetres wide. These are best sown direct in soil or in a grow bag, 5 to 10 millimetres deep and about 3 to 5 centimetres apart. They germinate and grow very fast, so you'll be eating little radishes in about 6 weeks. Now moving on to the garden pack, you see we've given you some more peas, 2 different types. There's a Mange 2 variety, which is smooth, round peas, and a podding variety, which is wrinkled. And you can treat them exactly the same, either in modules or sow them direct. These are beetroot seeds, and you'll notice they look the same as the rainbow chard, because this is actually the same species. The beetroot are bred for the roots, and chard is a leaf beet, which is bred for the leaves. Of course, the leaves of beetroot are also very good cooked like spinach. And again, you can either sow these direct, about 5 millimetres deep, sowing a couple of seeds every 10 centimetres, or you can raise them in small modules and transplant them. Now these little round purplish black ones are turnips, not the Swede turnip or neep, but the smaller white and purple type. Now these you can sow direct in a seed drill or a large grow bag, about 5 centimetres apart, 5 millimetres deep. And not so great in modules, as they'll tend to get stressed and bolt, meaning they'll flower and go to seed rather than making a turnip. Now the largest seeds in your packet are the broad beans. These are very easy and reliable. You can sow them direct in the ground or in a grow bag about 2 centimetres deep, or put them in larger modules for planting out. And they can be sown very early in the year, into May, but not later. And the plants should be grown about 20 centimetres apart, so you could get 4 or 5 of these in one of the 17-litre big grow bags. And these glossy kidney-shaped beans are a variety of dwarf French beans. Now these germinate at about 20 degrees centigrade, so you're best starting them off indoors in a large module or a 3-inch pot, burying them about 2 centimetres deep. They can be sown direct in the garden, but you might have a problem with slugs, or you could just sow them direct into a grow bag. These are all dwarf beans that grow into a little bush about 30 centimetres high and wide, so they need to be spaced about 30 centimetres apart. You could try about 3 in a large 17-litre grow bag, or 1 in one of the smaller ones. They produce large seedlings which are very fast growing, so they like plenty of sun, warmth and water. So here's your courgette seed. This is another one that needs a lot of warmth to start it off. You're best starting them indoors in a 3-inch pot, burying it about 2 centimetres deep. Direct sowing in the garden is not so great. The soil might not be warm enough for it to germinate, and when they're small they're very vulnerable to slugs. They're quite big and greedy plants that need they need rich soil and plenty of sun and water. So you could grow one in a big 17-litre grow bag, but really they're happiest in a very fertile spot in the garden with lots of compost and manure. These are your carrot seeds. They look a bit similar to the parsley seed. These are quite tricky because they don't like being transplanted, so you have to sow them direct. The main problem with carrots is that the carrot fly, which is a major pest, um, and you will need to, if you're growing them in the garden, you'll need to protect them with some horticultural fleece or some fine mesh. So if you're sowing them direct in the garden, sow them every 2 to 3 centimeters in a seed drill, about 2 to 5 millimeters deep. But see if you can find some fine fleece or mesh to cover them with. And they might be better. You might be better growing them in a large grow bag, where the carrot fly is less likely to find them. And these are the seedlings. They grow rather slowly with fine feathery leaves. So I'm going to be working on some more videos about the next stage when your plants have outgrown their pots and modules and need planting out in the garden or bigger pots, or you get to the point where you're thinning and harvesting your salad leaves. In the meantime, it'd be great to see some photos of your home growing setup and hear about how you're doing, and answer any questions that you might have. Well, hope to see you soon.